Welcome, 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 welcome everyone to Madison Reed's Hair Color House Party. My name is Heidi. We are so thrilled to have you here with us today. We are live from our bathrooms, from our kitchens, from all over the US, coming together as a community and coloring our hair together. And can I just say something? It is wonderful to see all of your bright faces on the screen. I know that as a group, we are all going through a lot right now, and it's just so nice to be joined by great women, learning together, doing stuff together. So thank you for giving us a great hour together. And we're here to tell you that you can do this. Maybe some of you have some hair color anxiety. You're doing your hair for your first time. And Madison Reed is here to tell you that we've got you. I'm sure many of you have raised families, managed households, navigated careers, and you know what? You can absolutely color your own hair. It's not that hard. So this will be fun. Let's learn together. And it's not just fun for us, it has purpose. So at every hair color house party, we like to dedicate it to an organization that we believe is doing good things. And this week we are donating our proceeds from this hair color house party to an organization called Direct Relief. And they are, as we speak, fighting the wildfires that are engulfing so much of the Western US. And I will tell you how you can help us donate. Basically, for every after picture that you submit at the end of this hair color house party, and by after, I mean after you've colored your hair, we will be donating $1 to Direct Relief. Now, from the very, very beginning of Madison Reed, we have always been about our colorists. They are 60% of our workforce, 60% of our employees are professional colorists, and they are the backbone, the heart, the soul, and the expertise of our company. And I would love to introduce you to 3 of our very best professional colorists that are joining us today. They are not only experts at coloring women's hair, they have been behind the chair coloring women's hair for literally decades. They are also experts at educating women on how to color their hair on their own at home. So first, I'd like to introduce you to Susan.
Hello, everyone.
Susan has, wait for it, 25 years of hair coloring experience. It's amazing because she's only 26. She must have started really young in life. She has 25 years of coloring experience. And the fun fact about Susan is that she is actually a hair color formulator. And she was the person responsible for Madison Reed's over 55 shades of gorgeous hair color. So welcome, Susan. Next up, I have Siobhan with us today.
Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday.
Siobhan has 17 years of colorist experience. And the fun fact about Siobhan is that Siobhan is our colorist's colorist. Siobhan is an expert not only in educating women on how to color their hair, she is a trainer that trains all of our colorists in our color bars on how to use Madison Reed color with clients every day. So welcome, Siobhan. And finally, the star of the show for today is Rachael.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Rachael. Rachael has 14 years of coloring experience as a colorist, and she is our head of product development and education. And what that means is that Rachael every day helps formulate new products for hair color and care for colored hair. I cannot wait to see what Rachael is inventing as we speak. And today she is going to actually apply hair color directly and show us how she does it. A fun fact about Rachael is that Rachael was our manager of our very, very first color bar pop-up in New York City. And given the success of that pop-up, today we have 22 color bars, soon to be 23 color bars after we open our color bar in Boca Raton. So with that introduction, welcome everyone.
Like Heidi said, I'm super excited to be here with you guys. It just sort of feels good to spend this hour together. So what I'm going to be showing you today is how to use our perfect pair. So what is that? That is using our Radiant Color Kit at your roots. And I'll show you my roots here in a second to cover up my regrowth. And then I'm going to use our Color Reviving Gloss to touch up my mid-lengths and ends. So you can see they're a little light, maybe a little dull. I just want to add a pop of color there and obviously some shine. So I'm going to do that whole application for you so you can see from start to finish. So for my hair, let me show you here. Tell me if you can see this okay. I've got some sparkles, right? So I have some gray. You can see my natural color is a bit light, and I go darker. So even though I don't have a ton of gray in there, they are resistant. They are a little stubborn. So I'm going to saturate my roots really, really well. I'm actually going to go our max processing time for you. So I'm going to be using on my roots our Positano black. And that's going to kind of match this midsection here. And then I'm going to use our Barolo gloss. If you can see that. So this is our red. And you know, we're getting into fall. I kind of wanted to add some warmth, some red tones to my ends. You'll see it a lot more in the sun because my hair is quite dark. And it's semi-permanent. So I can change it up, maybe go to our espresso, which is a cool brunette as we get into winter. But I love, love, love our radiant color and our gloss together.
I think what's great about that is that they really are the perfect pair. And that's what we call them at Madison Reed, because I think using permanent color on your roots, which I know that you're going to go and do, you're going much darker than your natural color. And on the ends, it's a very bright shade. And I know that there's lots of you that will have questions about gloss and radiant cream color to be used together. But the great thing about it is that you get exactly what you need, I think, Rachel, right? Because at the root, you get the permanent color to cover the gray. On the end, you get the semi-permanent, keep the condition great, lots of shine and lots of tone.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. So it'll be nice and dimensional. But then I do have the depth at my root to really cover the grays. So I've got all my kit contents out and ready to go. I've even sort of torn the packets of my berry cream and cleansing white. So those are ready to go for me. And then I also took the seal off of the gloss. You can see here. It's a little easier to do without gloves on. So I've got everything ready to go. So I'm going to jump right in and start sectioning my hair. So you want to create 4 sections, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Using a comb is nice. You can even use the end of a clip if you want to, whatever is easy for you. And you know, partings don't have to be perfect. It's just a matter of making it easy for yourself. Keep everything sectioned away nice and clean. You don't have to work with all of your hair at one time. So straight down the middle, and then kind of from the top to above my ear.
And Rachel, I'm going to go ahead and kind of insert a note here. If you're watching this, and I can see some of you are actually coloring along with, and I love that. If you've got short hair, yes, Madeline, I'm looking at you. And if you've got short hair, because we get lots of questions about, like, you know, your models have shoulder length hair, long hair. What about me? I've got short hair. Don't stress about this whole sectioning thing, because you know how short hair is. It's not going to stay where you put it anyway. So do your best, comb it to the best of where it can stay. This is just to keep you organized and sane while you're doing this process. If you can't get it all into a little clippy, skip it. She's going to show you how to get those partings in anyhow. But if you've got longer hair or shoulder length hair, then this is going to make your life a little easier.
Well, and I think that's so true, Siobhan, because sometimes when you've got shorter hair, you're actually better off waiting until you put the color on, I think, because at least when you've got the color on your hair, it does stay where it's put, right? So one question we get asked a lot is, should I have clean hair when I'm coloring my hair? So what would you say to that, Rachel? When did you last wash your hair?
I washed my hair yesterday morning. So kind of clean-ish hair is good. I like second day hair. It actually makes it a little easier to part my hair because I've got a little oils coming through on my scalp. So yesterday morning is when I did that. I don't have a ton of product in my hair though. So you just don't want too much product because it'll act as a barrier from the color taking. So barrier, here's my barrier cream. I'm just gonna bring this all around my hairline so I don't get any staining. One thing to note is you don't want to go too far into the hair, right? Because I really want the color to take, but I don't want stains. So all around the hairline, the tips of my ears especially, because my long hair might droop down. And then even around the nape of my neck here.
You know, to share with you all something that's interesting that we're learning with time in this industry is around the time that women start using permanent color to color grays, they start using anti-aging products on their face. These products like uptick at the same time. And while you're putting those moisturizers that have all those antioxidants and anti-aging properties, they're getting pushed into the hairline. And you'll notice these little babies around the hairline getting more and more resistant with time. And that's a lot of that beautiful skincare that's keeping your skin youthful, is keeping that hair youthful. So you really, when you get those, want to saturate the color on those grays around the hairline and keep the barrier cream off of them. That'll save you a little heartbreak when you rinse off your color.
Exactly. Okay, so I think I'm good to go. You know what? Let me switch to, I've got a little clip here. Okay, so I'm sectioned. I'm ready to go. I'm gonna mix up my color. So I've got my color tube. When you open your tube, you're actually gonna use the other end of the cap here and just puncture the tube. So that's gonna break the seal. And then I'm gonna dispense this into my bottle. So today, I'm actually gonna show you how to use the bottle, but also how to use a brush and bowl. I like both, quite honestly. Do whatever is easiest for you. I kind of like the bowl and brush for the front to get my pesky grays, and then the bottle's a bit easier in the back. But again, whatever feels best. Okay, so I think I've got all my color out. So now I'm gonna shake up my color. You wanna give it kind of 20 seconds. Give it a good shake.
Rachel, while you're giving it a good shake, can we take a question?
Yes.
Okay. So I am looking at Catherine. I'm going to ask to unmute you. Okay. Catherine, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi.
Perfect. Hi there.
I just did my hair for the very first time with you guys this past week. I had done highlights and lowlights, or had it done in a salon February. So I had about 2 inches of gray, and so I wanted to keep my highlights, and I did the clear gloss on my highlights from about here down, and I did Amalfi on the roots, and I really liked it. I want to go a little lighter next time, I think, to go more with this. I could do, this color with, do you have highlights?
We do. So I'll talk about that a little bit too. So there's a shade that you can use. And Rachel, will you pause real quick? Because I want everyone to see how you do that first section, but I want to answer Catherine's question.
Absolutely.
So Catherine, we do have some lighter blonde shades that are called our high lift tints. And if you shoot us an email afterward, I'll send you the link to it. That will give you a lighter base. We don't offer traditional highlights that are the same as a salon that come in foils. What we do have is our Lightworks Balayage kit, which will give you soft dimension through the mid lengths. And they don't go all the way up to the root, but they kind of like this. I've got Lightworks in right now. And so does Susan. Darker root and a bit of a lighter end. Look for that video after today. Type into YouTube hair color house party highlights or balayage. It will bring that video up for you, and you'll see us do that. And then if you reach out to me through email after this, I'll send you the link to the color I think you should use next. Because we do have a little bit of a lighter blonde to lighten your base as much as your mid lengths. Okay, so Rachel, are you ready to do your first section?
I'm ready. Let's go. So I've got my first section here. I'm starting in the front again to make sure my grays get covered and they get the full processing time. And then you can see I dispensed a little bit of color in my bowl. So I want to show you a section with the bowl and brush so you can see what this is like. All right. So I'm just going to kind of outline the section first. on the top and then through the sides here. And again, this is just going to keep it nice and clean for me.
And this consistency, this is like Greek yogurt or cake frosting, like enough that you see it sitting on the surface of the hair, yeah?
Yes, it's an amazing consistency to work with, whether it's the bottle or the bowl and brush.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you want to see the product. So, you know, especially whether your hair is dark or light, you should see kind of like a cake frosting amount of product on here. So I'm taking kind of finer sections through the front. Once I get to the back, you'll see I'm a little less meticulous about it, but I want to get all my roots covered here.
If you're watching this too and you don't have a bowl and brush handy, I also don't want you to worry about this. Bowl and brush is like, it's a nice to have, it's not a must have. It doesn't come in the kit, so it's an extra accessory. And some women really like it because they like the painting on and they use the back of the bowl, the brush to get really skinny sections. But you can do this with the bottle, and she'll show you this on the other side, but I don't want you to see this and think you might be missing something. This is all personal preference. So however it works for you is best. Susan, do you have a preference when you do your own?
So I think it's important to note that if you're the type of person that likes to do their hair often, so maybe you're an every 3-week girl as opposed to an every 13-week girl. I know which one I am. So if you have a small amount of roots, then it is more precise if you use a bowl and brush. So you might want to think about doing that, because if you've got a teeny tiny amount, and some people, you know, what's great is that you can use and just do the hairline and parting, so the bits that show. So if you have grey along here and along here, then you can use a small amount of product and just apply there with a bowl and brush. And that's super simple. But I think if you're more of a 13-week girl, which is what I am, then it's nice to have the applicator flask, because you almost can kind of feel it as you go, which I think is what Rachel's going to show us in a minute, because she's she's got a generous amount of root to do. So I think it's really down to personal preference and also how much precision you like to work with.
So around my hairline, I've got a ton of baby hairs. These little guys just don't stay put. So I'm going to apply a little bit more, make sure I've got everything covered here.
And notice too that when she's dealing with the baby hairs, those little fine ones, use either your gloved finger or the brush to push them back into the hairline, so they're kind of standing up with volume, like what Rachel's got going on. Because if you color them down here where they live, you'll have like kind of a color band, you know, an inch of sort of inky looking skin here. So take those little baby hairs and just smush them back away from the face. That'll help you keep a clean forehead.
I think what's great about consistency,
so it's nice and clean.
I think what's great about consistency is that you can do that and just push them. And the color just makes the hair stay where it's put, especially with short hair. So if you do have short hair, that's a great tip. Now you're going to go with the bowl and with the bottle, right?
Yep. Going in with the bottle. So you can see, I'm going to line the root section here and massage it in with my fingers.
Rachel, will you lean into the camera just a little bit closer so we can kind of see those grays get covered?
Yes. So
section.
All right. So again, I'm going to start from the top using the tip of the bottle to section my hair.
Yes.
And apply it right here. And then basically I'm doing what the brush was doing, right? But with my fingers. So massage it in. You just want to feel everything nice and saturated.
And that bottle that she's using, you guys, is non-drip. So when she's using it to section, color isn't just coming out. She's got to squeeze it to get color out. So that'll keep it really tidy. You don't have to worry about it spilling on your head while you're sectioning.
Yes.
And Rachel, I can see what you're doing. It looks like you've got the tip of the bottle and you're actually touching it onto your head so you can feel it. Is that right?
Exactly. Yep. So I can kind of feel where I'm laying down the product. It's nice and cool. It honestly feels kind of nice on your scalp. And this is really going to help too when you get to the back of your head to feel what you're doing. You know, I'm not going to see what's going on back there. So this is really going to help me make sure I get everything covered.
You're doing beautifully, Rachel.
Thank you.
Yeah, like a pro. Susan, do you want to take another question? I think we might have.
That's a great idea if we have time for one right now. I think, Chris, we're looking at you, my love. What's your question?
I will be using the Perfect Pair tomorrow, but ahead of that, I wanted to use the primer. My question was, can you use this if I don't have really clean hair, like maybe I washed it a couple days or so ago and then have the curl cream on it? Should I do this on clean, dry hair, or is it okay if my hair's a little dirty?
Great question. And perfect that you're doing Prime for Perfection, because what that does is it helps to really prepare the hair, especially when you're working with color reviving gloss. So when we're working with Prime for Perfection, if you have something on your hair which is kind of anything moisturizing or waxy, it's better to not have that on there because that might put a little bit of a barrier on. So in your case, the best thing to do is to wash your hair, rough dry, and then put the Prime for Perfection on. When you're using Prime for Perfection, it's a light gel formula, so it works through the hair super well. So pop that all the way through and really work it in, particularly on those areas if there's anything there that you don't want to see. So if there's any bits that you want to get a little bit lighter, it's a really good idea to just kind of work it in. And it's a great product to use because it's so smooth. And then it will just saturate your hair, work it through, make sure it's nice and even, and pop the cap on. That's important. And then when you come to rinse it off, make sure you do a couple of really good shampoos to make sure you get rid of all the product. And then dry, and you should be good to go. So the good thing about Prime for Perfection is that you can use it a couple of days before, as long as you don't put that curl cream back on, will be good. A couple of days before you do that color. Okay? So
right,
great. Can't wait to see. Make sure you post your picture because we'd love to see how it looks. Thank you, Chris. So how's it going, Rachel?
So far, so good, I think. So I've got all of the color applied to the front. And again, I'm just going to clip these back up a bit. So when I get to the back, no fuss. Okay, and then I am going to take my cleansing wipe real quick. Get this little bit off my hairline. This color is dark, so I just want to grab that quick so it doesn't stain. All right, shall we do the back?
So we get a lot of, yeah, the back. This is the thing. So many women are like, how am I going to color the back of my hair when I can't see what I'm doing? It's a very valid question. Unless you have superhero powers and you have eyes in the back of your head. Most of us don't. But Rachel's going to show us kind of how to feel like you have eyes in the back of your head. So since she's going to be turned around, we'll help her talk through these points. About how to do the back of your own.
All right, so I've got my section here. Obviously, not perfect, right? But clean enough. Just kind of feel for that part.
It's pretty good.
Massage that in. Same thing here.
So the takeaway here is.
I'm going to work from the top down. You might have said we're about to say this. So I'm going to work from the top down. The crown is really important for me. Make sure I cover my roots. So top down, horizontal sections.
Rachel, put your chin up while you're showing us. Put your chin up while you're showing us. That's perfect.
There you go.
And we can see that there's a good amount of product on there. And the sections are not nearly as fine as the ones that Rachel used at the top. But what she's doing, I think, is feeling where the nozzle is. And
yeah,
as
a lot
you
of this is
contact
my
the scalp,
the back.
That's it. Perfect.
It looks great.
So the secret is, especially if you have a lot of hair like Rachael does, really dig into your scalp when you're doing the back so that you can feel the tip of the applicator actually on your skin. And you can feel that once you take the section, so going one way with the nozzle and then back with the color, that gets you into a nice little rhythm almost, so that you can feel the coolness of the color and the tip of the applicator bottle at the same time.
Okay, I think
And
I've
there's
got
lots of
that side
smushing.
done. And bring it back down. Okay, my last section here.
So Rachael, since this is a little bit of a repeat of your first back section, can we take a question now? Is that okay?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, beautiful. So let's hear from Kathy. Kathy, I'm going to ask to unmute you. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, thank you so much. Quick question. I just received my first package yesterday.
Mhm.
So I'm curious if you recommend for the first time that you use it, and I have a lot of gray, if you should do the roots, but then use the rest of the color for the rest of your hair, just to sort of develop a baseline with your product?
Okay, that is a great question. Kathy, right now, is your camera on?
No, and I look awful, so
Okay, so you don't want it on. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna guess and go. So this is what I would say to that. Yes, if you're using your color for the very first time and you've got a lot of gray, you're absolutely right. It's a good idea in that case to go ahead and, now here's the thing about, we say roots. What we're talking about is new growth. So if you've got gray coming down to here, like 4 inches down because you've been in quarantine forever, like everyone, that's your root. Okay, so get it all the color all over your root, your regrowth, your gray for say 35 minutes. And then apply the leftover color in the bottle to the mid links and ends for the additional 10. So that way this gray is getting the full 45 minutes and this stuff is also getting covered, but not too dark. Then you switch over to a roots and gloss maintenance plan. Because what we don't want you to do, and this is for everyone to know, the reason we even do roots and gloss in the first place and not just keep putting hair color all over every time is that this is really meant to work on brand new hair coming out of the scalp. If you keep putting permanent color all over again and again, it'll kind of get your ends like dark and inky and kind of sad looking. And you know, natural hair usually looks a little lighter and brighter through the mids and ends. So we want to keep that natural looking result. So yes to Kathy and yes to everyone else, if it's your first time, it is nice to go ahead and do a little evening out with your permanent color. And then I recommend switching over to roots and gloss. That was an amazing question. And if I didn't all the way answer it, please email me at the end and I'll make sure I get to, any specific concerns. Okay, so we're about halfway through. So we're ready to switch over to gloss?
We are, but I'm going to do one quick cross check just to make sure I have everything covered here, mainly in the front. And I'm going back in with my brush just to make sure the hair color is really saturated and into my roots. And I'm basically just working the opposite way in which I applied.
And if you've not got a brush handy, don't worry about it. Just do exactly what Rachel's doing. So what are you looking for here, Rachael? What are you specifically doing?
So basically any dry spots. So if I see like it's a little dry right here on my root, just kind of pat that back down. Really get these baby hairs.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd be using your applicator bottle. If you don't have a bowl and brush, just use the tip like you always do to do the sectioning, and then look for the dry spots and zap those grays, because if you have resistant grays, they kind of, you can see them, can't you? It's almost like they come looming out from underneath the hair color. And so we have to zap them back again.
And it's especially when the color starts to change color. Like you noticed when she put the stuff on her hair, it was kind of whitish. Now it's looking black because it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's changing color with the air, right? Called oxidizing. Now she's really going to see any grays pop out of there because it's popping up against black. So it's going to look very obvious. So scan for those little ones that are just standing straight up on end.
And
Looking
for
good,
the
Rachel.
back, I'm just going through here again real quick because I took bigger sections back there. This is just going to make sure I've got it all just by feel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so after I've got my roots on, this is when I want to set my timer. So again, my roots are resistant. So I'm going to go for 45 minutes. Processing time with our color, 35 to 45 minutes. I'm going to go the full 45. Just make sure I've got everything. And then I go right in with my gloss.
And Rachel, how would you know if you were a 35 person versus a 45 person?
I think, you know, if your texture is a little fine, you don't got too much gray, you can stick with 35. If your hair's on the coarser side or very thick, you've got some grays and you just want to be certain they're fully covered, just go the full 45. Got a little bit on my neck here.
And this is a great, when Rachel sets her timer, this is a great Hey Siri moment. Hey Siri, I should probably not say that in front of my phone, but tell her to set your timer for 45 minutes so you don't have to touch your phone with your gloved hands.
Okay, so moving on to gloss, the fun part, and maybe the new part for a lot of you all on today. So I'm just gonna work side to side, kind of reparting my hair down the middle, working from the bottom upwards. So these sections, unlike the roots, they don't even have to be that small, right? And no need to be perfect, again, with these. So working in sections from the top down. I do have my comb here, so this is good to have on hand when you're doing gloss. Got my gloss. So my hair is longer, so I'm just going to apply it straight from the tube onto my hair. Or you can put it in your hands and massage it that way. I just find this a little easier. And because gloss is a semi-permanent and doesn't mix with developer, you're just putting this on straight from the tube onto your dry hair. Super, super easy. Right from where sort of my permanent color ended. And just get it fully saturated, basically so it all looks wet.
So one of the questions that we get a lot, Rachel, is does it matter if the gloss meets the permanent color on the roots?
Good question. So really, no biggie. If the two touch, it's not going to affect your roots from taking. So, you know, even when I'm combing, I don't really need to be too worried. But what you don't want to do is put the gloss right over your root because it's just not needed there. So basically from where my permanent color ends, working down from there, I'm just massaging it through. And then I can comb it through too.
If you usually get your hair done in a salon, get your color done in a salon, this is very often this pairing of some kind of a gloss, toner, semi-permanent everywhere else but the roots. This is 99% of the time what your professional colorist is doing. I know when you're just sitting there having something done to you, you might not know what's being used, and all you know is that all your hair is wet, right? But usually it's permanent color at your new growth and some kind of a semi or demi throughout. So our whole goal is to bring you closer at home to that magic that you're getting in the salon, but having you do it yourself. Versus what a lot of us have been doing forever is just, if I'm doing it at home, I just put the color everywhere. But then sooner or later, you're like, why do my ends look so not like they used to, or not like the top? It's because no one ever told you before, but they've always been using two different things. So, and especially if you have something put on at the shampoo bowl, this is what that is. So this is sort of us just sort of closing the gap between what you can achieve at home and what you've always had to go to a pro for, right? I mean, Susan, is that
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think then a nice way to think about this is to think about it like lip gloss, because what we're doing is putting a coating of shine on the mid lengths and ends of the hair. And when you think about it, I think that obviously we need permanent color to cover the gray, because this is natural hair at the root. On the ends, the hair's already colored, so it doesn't need permanent color again. What it needs is a lot of shine. It needs to be treated gently, because that's how we're going to keep the hair in great condition. And it needs something that's going to give it a little bit of color. And I like to think about gloss in terms of, if we think about the way that lip gloss works, so you still see the color that's there of your lips, but what we're doing is kind of enhancing that. So the result that we get with gloss, and obviously here Rachel's using something that's really bright. It's actually, I think the brightest shade that we have is Barolo. Is a beautiful red copper, pretty intense shade. So if Rachael had highlights on the end of her hair, like Siobhan and I, with our Lightworks, she would find that on that blonde, we'd get a super vibrant result, which would be amazing for fall. But where we've got permanent color, and Rachael has, it's a little bit lighter on the ends. So we're going to see a little bit more color there. And then where it's really, really dark through the mid lengths, we're going to see just a hint in the sun, where it's almost like a cherry Coke type shade, which will be beautiful and just right, I think, for fall. Is that what you're going for, Rachael?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, I want something a bit bright through my ends. And I've got a lot of old color on my hair. Done highlights over time. I've gone darker. So I kind of just let it fade as it would naturally, and then choose my gloss shade once I'm ready to color. So you can mix them up. You can even mix two together if you really want to get creative.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Rachael, can we take a question while you're glossing?
Yes, yes.
Hey, Melinda, I'm going to ask to unmute you. Hi, Melinda. Oh, hang on, you're still muted. Give me one more. There you go.
Okay. So I look horrible too. I've got to wear a mask all day at work, so there's no need to do anything. I've got shoulder length hair, and I use the Lucia, I think it's Lucia light brown.
Yep.
I loved it. It looked great. And then my roots kind of are a little resistant. So I can't remember the color, but it was a little darker.
Okay.
The Lucia light brown. And it was, I shouldn't say a little darker. It was a lot darker.
Okay.
It just looked horrible. So I contacted you guys, and they said, well, just use the Lucia light brown as the root touch-up. And my question is, in what ratio? Because I don't use all of it. They said use about a third of it, but what ratio of the color to the thing, the activator, do you use?
So let me make sure I'm completely understanding your question.
Okay.
So it's the Luca light brown. That's what you were using and you liked, but then you thought I could use a bit more gray coverage.
Yeah, a couple months later.
Okay, and then you moved to something a little, but really a lot darker.
Correct.
And then were you told to mix the two of them together to get a medium?
No. So when I contacted to find out what color root, I think it's called, I can't remember what it's called, the root color.
Yeah.
The color that they told me to use was actually a lot darker than the Luca light brown. And so it really, I had brown, really dark brunette here, and then you can see the color of my hair. It's kind of light brown.
Yeah, light goldeny brown.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And so when I put the root stuff on, it was dark. And so there was a big dark root line, and then my lighter brown hair. So when I called, or when I chatted with the Madison Reed folks, they said, well, just use the Luca light brown instead of the root color that we sent you last time. So my question is, I received my total hair color, Luca light brown, and I'm going to use that for my roots only. What ratio of the activator and the color do I mix together to do that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you're not going to use the whole bottle.
Correct. Right.
Okay.
And can I save it?
Okay. Such good questions. Both amazing questions. So here's the deal on that. If you are like Rachael and you're just going to use the whole kit to do your roots because you've got a lot of hair, you're going to empty that whole tube into the bottle because it's pre-measured. If you've got fine hair, short hair, you don't need the whole kit. The ratio of color to developer is 1 part color to 1.5 parts developer. If you're gonna mix this in a bowl with like a little bowl and brush, do something non-metallic. Don't do it with a spoon, do it with like a tint brush or something. My favorite way is to do it by like the teaspoon or tablespoon and eyeball it. So do like a tablespoon of color, 1.5 tablespoons of developer, and then mix those up, because then you can add a little bit more as needed. You can save color as long as the activator stays in its bottle and the color stays in its tube, and they're sealed, dry, cool space, right? If you mix them, game over after about 45 minutes to an hour. You cannot save that mixture like in the fridge or anything. So if you're gonna mix a little bit of color, you need to squeeze the 2 things into a separate container, mix them there, and then keep your half tube sealed and put away. Okay, and then I just would love to do a little bit of a deeper dive with you, Melinda. Just want to see if there isn't, and I want to see what you used that was too dark, and I want to see if I can help fine tune it even more. So if you have the energy and time, please email me after when you see the card and we'll talk. Okay, cool. Rachel, how are we doing over there?
I think I'm done.
Okay.
I got my cap on. I cleaned up all my mess. You can see I even a little gone on my arm, but that's fine. That's what the cleansing wipe is for.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of cleaning up everything right now. And then I'm
will
going
you get close to the camera so we can see how the cap is on and talk about this a little?
Yeah. So I put it basically like just behind the hairline. If you set it right on the forehead, that's when you're going to get that indentation. So just kind of right on the hairline, tuck behind the ears. If you put it over the ear, you're just going to get a ton of color on your ear. So tuck it behind the ear. Make sure you've got everything tucked in here so that I can move around, process, don't really need to worry about getting color anywhere. And then once my timer goes off, I'm going to shampoo and condition.
Beautiful. Well done.
So Rachel, tell us why we should use the cap, because we get it in the kit, don't we?
Yep. So it comes in your kit. What this is going to do is, well, 2 things. Kind of trap the heat in that's coming from your scalp. So that's going to help keep the color nice and saturated, basically, so it doesn't dry out. It's also going to ensure you get good gray coverage. So always wear your cap. And then it's just nice if you're at home and you want to move around. I mean, I've got a good 35-ish minutes left here. I can do what I want and don't have to worry about any color dripping. So always use the cap. You know, it'll just make sure you get all your roots covered. Mess free.
Perfect. So I think we're now in a situation where we can take a question, can we?
Mm-hmm.
And you can join us in answering if you can. So Kathleen, I wonder if I can go ahead and unmute you, because I can see that you've been waiting for a little while, haven't you? Kathleen P. Are you there,
Hello.
Kathleen? Hello.
Me?
Yes, Kathleen.
Thank you for taking my question. Actually, my question is for you, and I'm wondering what color you use at the base and the light works that you use through the mid, length, and end.
Oh, how nice. Thank you for noticing. And obviously what I have a lot of grey hair, in fact, and those of you who've been regular attendees of House Party will see exactly how much grey I have. So I cover that with, I think the last time, because I change a lot, is I used 6.5 NNA, and I use that on the roots. My hair is obviously fairly dark. It's probably a medium brown, I would say, naturally. So that makes it a tiny little bit lighter and zaps my grey. And then I use Lightworks. When you see Madison Reed Lightworks, you see the kit. What that's going to give you is lightener inside your kit. And we have this very cool applicator that we put the kit through. We apply the lightener through the mid-lengths and ends, and you can see that there's no lightener through the root area here. The lightness is really very much focused on the ends of the hair, and that's the typical balayage type effect. It's actually, with this type of product and this type of technique, what you don't lighten is actually just as important as what you do lighten, because you can see with my hair, the contrast is pretty strong between the natural or base color and the ends of the hair. And that's really what I'm going for. I like to have that lightness and I like to have that contrast. So you apply the Lightworks first, using your little applicator. When the color comes off, oftentimes if your hair is colored, what you'll find is that, especially if it's a brunette, you have a lot of orangey tones in there. And that's very normal for that type of shade. I don't mind that too much, but what you will find in your kit is a toner, a neutralizer. So what that does is it adds color on top of the lightener. And that's exactly what I've used. I actually used the Cool Toffee color, which is it's going to neutralize a little bit of the warmth. It's going to leave some warmth, so you can see that I've actually got kind of gold tones and, you know, chestnutty tones in there almost, and the whole thing just kind of, you know, works in together. The precision of the application really doesn't matter too much. The tool really helps you, and then by putting the toner on everything, kind of brings the whole thing together. So that was probably quite a long explanation.
Susan, can I add one thing to that? So the, I think you mentioned your base color being the 6.5 NNA. If you're looking for that on our site, the Italian name for that is Sondrio Brown. So it's Sondrio. That might be, I don't know, easier to look up on the site, but it's going to say Sondrio and then it's going to say 6.5. Okay, let's do another one. So Kathleen, that was Kathleen. How about Artie? And I hope I'm saying this right, Artie. So I'm going to ask to unmute you. Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much. You just answered my question. I was also wondering what is Susan's color. I really love it.
Susan, you're such a rock star.
Thank you.
No big deal.
Actually going to look for Sondria. So I just did my color yesterday. I wish I had joined. This is my first time color and using Madison Reed. And thank you for the demo, because I think I missed a lot because I didn't know how to apply. I think the color I had was Ravenna, and I think it's a little brown. And it's giving me a bluish tinge black, but what I wanted was a brownish tinge black. So you see how my eyebrows are lighter? This is my natural color. And this I think is quite dark. So what is the right shade for me?
Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a multi-step answer, but it's going to apply to any of you out there who have ever had all over hair color that you're like, this is too dark and I want it lighter. I've got good news and I've got some other news about this. Hair color, permanent color, just the kit, will not lighten or remove the hair color that came before it. Okay, so if you have dark, let's say, I'm going to just be extreme. Let's say you have black hair, right? Roots to ends, black hair. And then you pick up a kit of blonde or brown. It's not going to lighten the black that's already on there because it just can't. But we do have another product that can help you do that gradually. And if you were listening earlier, this got mentioned, it's called Prime for Perfection. It's a lifesaver and it is non-damaging to the hair. It's a gel that goes all over your hair and its whole purpose in life is to remove color buildup. So you get the Prime for Perfection. I think it's $20. Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong. Something like that. It's pretty affordable. So you get the Prime for Perfection. It goes all over your hair, 20 minutes, you wash it out, and then you just do your roots now because you don't want to do another all over color because it'll redarken. What I would suggest for you, Artie, because Ravenna is a level 3, which is dark brown, almost black, I would get a couple tubes of Prime for Perfection if you can, because you can do it over and over, like up to 4 times in a row. Get that, put it in, 20 minutes, wash it out. Do it one more time, 20 minutes, wash it out. It's really watery. A little will go a long way. So it'll really work through the hair. And then I would maybe do, I don't know if you're going to get quite as light as Susan's, because Susan's is a medium brown, but go to the level 5. Try the level 5 one at your roots. right? So that you don't get light roots and then dark ends. And then the longer you use Prime for Perfection over time, over the weeks, this will all start to lighten up. And then you'll begin to be able to use a lighter color to match this. But I don't want you to end up with too light of a root and then dark brown hair. So if you can, right, get a couple tubes of Prime for Perfection, use it once a week, and just get some of this inky out and then start touching up lighter and lighter. That's going to be the best way to do it without any banding. Does that make sense? And again, I'll offer, beautiful, love the reaction. And then same as everyone else at the end, if you want to email me for more specifics, I can send you links and all that. Yeah, that's going to be your best path forward. Thank you. That was a really good question. Susan, you want to take one?
Brilliant. Love to. Love these questions. So let's see, Melinda. I'm going to ask to unmute you. Melinda, are you there, darling?
Yes.
Melinda? Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. Lovely to see you.
Thank you. So as you can see, my hair is very short.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is about staining. Do I need to be concerned about staining my roots, and should I use the brush or the bottle?
Great question.
I mean, not staining my roots, but my scalp.
Yes, great question, Melinda. And when your hair is short, that's a super important thing. And I know that there's a lot of people with short hair that are really concerned about that. So the great thing about Madison Reed is that it will cause you minimal staining. So especially when you're using permanent color, you won't have an issue. What I can give you is some advice on how to remove the color. So what that will help with, and once you've got the color on, and we'll talk about how best way to do that. Once you've got the color on, I would say leave it 45 minutes in your case, because although you have fine hair, it's probably pretty resistant and you're looking for a good gray coverage. So I'd say 45-minute processing time. When time comes to get the color off, and this applies every time you remove color, jump in the shower, put some water on, and then out of the water, give your hair and scalp a really good massage. So you're almost, if you like, pretending to shampoo your hair, even though you haven't got shampoo on, it's only color. And then at that same time, work around your hairline, a little bit like this. So you're really giving it a good old scrub, and then rinse. If you do it like that, what you'll find is the skin staining will come off very, very easily, and you won't get staining on your scalp. And as to whether to use a bowl and brush or an applicator flask, I think go with what's most comfortable for you. Really, what the most important thing is using the right amount of product. Because you've got short hair, you may not need the whole tube. So use 1 part color, 1.5 parts activator, and you can probably use half a tube, will probably be ample for you. Make sure you put plenty on. And I would go over it twice, whatever method of application you use, just to make sure that you're kind of patting it down, making sure that you've got all of the color on. I would probably use that action. And then a good 45 minutes. And you should be good to go. Thank you so much, Melinda.
These are good questions. You are asking us better colorists every question you ask, because we keep these questions, and this is when you hear us say we get this question a lot, it's because we literally do. So these are awesome. And I also just got news that we're going to extend a little bit. We've got a lot of people in line to ask questions. So we're going to go 10 minutes past our normal stopping time to try to get more answered. So don't have anxiety, we're trying to work down the list. Okay, so Linda, hi Linda, we're going to ask to unmute you. Hi.
Hi, great. Thanks for taking my question. So for about a year, I've been letting my gray grow out. And at first I had highlights, but then I just decided I was going to go and let it all grow out. So you can see about how much gray I have.
Yeah.
I was trying to see how I could show you.
Yeah, so, it's like 6 inches or 7 inches.
But I still have blonde on the ends. Can you see? So I didn't want to go for a really short haircut. So I got the gloss, and I think I I tried it one time, but I think I didn't leave it on long enough. I only left it on about 30 minutes.
Okay.
What I'm going for is I don't want permanent. I want to stop coloring, but I want to add, can I add some blonde tones to the gray?
Okay. So kind of. Yes, kind of.
Resistant.
Mm-hmm.
Or it seems like maybe it lightened up these portions a little bit. The gloss. I mean,
okay.
Tone down the gold part.
Got it. Okay.
Prosecco.
That's my favorite gloss. That's the gloss I use. So here's the only gloss, and this is, again, blowing me out of the water with these amazing questions because everybody should know. Unfortunately, gloss is a beautiful product. It does a lot of great things. It doesn't really impact gray hair, like kind of at all. So what I do think, and Rachel, chime in on this because you are the expert of this brand new product. I almost think that our new tinted conditioner would be better at getting pigment on those grays, not for coverage, but just for dimension. And we have a golden one for golden blondes called Dorado. And I've been using it. I love it. And I think it sounds weird that a conditioner might do this better than the gloss, but I think it could have impact because you use it continually. Rachel, do you want to weigh in on that for Linda?
Yeah, so we have our color therapy mask and it's buildable. So unlike gloss, you do this maybe every few weeks or so. The color therapy mask, you can use honestly in the beginning, maybe every time you shampoo, and then maybe every other time you shampoo. So every time you use it, it's conditioning your hair really, really well, but it's also depositing a little bit of tint or tone. So depending on the tones you like, if you got Prosecco, I'm guessing you like golden tones. So if that's the case, you can use the Dorado mask. If you wanted to cool it down, so say you wanted more of that sort of silvery tone or cool tone through the ends where your current kind of golden blonde is to maybe match with your more silvery root, then you can use the Perla, which is a cool violet tone, and that's going to help tone the gold down. So you sort of get this all over sort of cooler tone. So you can go either way. You know, again, like Siobhan said, it's really not coloring the grays or covering the grays, but it'll just sort of enhance the tone all over and sort of enhance or adjust the tone through your ends where you're color treated to sort of balance it out, right? So you're not sort of too bright and golden here and then very neutral at the roots. It'll kind of help balance the two.
And just to repeat that for you, Linda, that's called, it's color therapy mask. That's what you'll look for on this site. Okay. Susan, you want to take the next question?
Yeah, I'd love to. Francesca, I think you've been waiting for a little while, haven't you? Let's see.
Yes, hi.
Hello.
Hi. So I'll put the camera. Sorry, I was eating.
Gorgeous hair, darling.
Thank you. So I did the balayage down here, and it worked very well. But
it certainly has.
Yes, it was wonderful. But this part over here, it's still very dark. Well, I didn't do anything. I have not done anything here in a while. So it's very dark, and I have a lot of grays down the middle and everywhere, actually. And every time I do the questionnaire, it gives me like a very dark color, and I want to keep that lighter. I mean, sort of like the balayage, but still like lighter to lightest, I guess.
Right. Okay. So what you're wanting to do is lighten up your natural hair color.
Correct.
Okay. So do you have any color on your hair apart from the balayage light works that you did?
Not as of like maybe a year.
Okay. Okay, cool. So it's mostly natural, and then you've lightened the ends pretty much with the light works.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So it looks to me as if what you could do is go for something that's a lighter version of your natural color.
Okay.
Now, because your hair is quite dark, and this is the perennial thing that always happens when you want to go blonde, right? If you're a brunette and you want to be blonde, what will happen is that as you lighten your hair, the natural warm tones will start to come through. And it looks like that's happened a little bit just through that kind of rootish area where you've got a lot of oranginess in there, right? So,
Right.
and I'm guessing that you probably don't want that.
I'd rather not.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, if it's a process that I have to go through, I'm okay with it, but it's not my ultimate goal.
Okay, perfect. So the thing to do when you're doing your own hair at home and you want to go a little bit lighter is not to be too ambitious about the lightness of the overall color. Okay,
Right.
so you're in a great spot because you've already got lighter ends. Great. All we need to do now is kind of blend the root area through a little bit. And
Right.
probably when you look on the website, you're looking at blondes that are really light and you're looking maybe a level 9 or, you know, that kind of thing. I would counsel you probably to stay away from a level 9 because if you go for a level 9, that's quite light. You need something that's a bit deeper so that you can neutralize out some of those tones. So I would say, probably looking at your hair right now, I would probably go for maybe a level 7 through just on your roots, possibly a level 8. And it might be an idea to have a bit more of a exact consultation to make sure that you're in the right kind of ballpark. And I would use ash tones when you look for that shade, because what that's going to do is neutralize out some of the warmth, but it will leave some of it in there as well. So one of the nicest colors that I really like is, and excuse me if I don't know all of the names, is the 7MVA. And I know that Siobhan's going to jump in and say, boom, I know what that name is. So if you go for that shade and literally when you put it on your root area, put it through the roots and then kind of melt it through the mid lengths. I mean, wouldn't you say, Siobhan, that that would be a good idea to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So like if you're doing bowl and brush, if you put it, you know, get your level 7, put it all over your roots and then turn your brush to the side and kind of like zhuzh it down a little bit. So you're not like hard line, brown, blonde, but you're kind of like ribboning it in a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. Okay, we've got time for one more. And I am looking at Julie. Julie, I see, I'm going to ask to unmute you. Give me one quick second. Okay. Hey, Julie.
Hi. I'm a swimmer.
Love it.
How do I protect this?
Can you say your question one more time? Because you kind of, I lost your volume. I heard you're a swimmer.
I'm a swimmer, yeah. How can I protect my hair? I mean, right now I just put maybe conditioner under my cap. Is there something else I could do?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Good question. So the struggle of swimmers everywhere is that they're dealing with something that's rough, saltwater or chlorine, right? It's one of the two and they both fade hair color. And then there's of course sun. So you can absolutely do the conditioner under the cap. I love that. We also, you're never going to completely win the fight against that fading. It's always going to happen. So Julie, for you too, I promise one of the things about our hair color house parties is this is about advice, not selling product, but the best thing for you really is going to be that color therapy mask, because your hair is just going to fade, period, a little bit, but putting that conditioner, because you don't have to use the conditioner and that, you just use that as your conditioner. So if you're conditioning with something, you may as well be putting some tint back in your hair anyway. And then really quick, Julie, do you know what color you're using right now?
Um,
I kind of thought I saw you putting it on and it looked like a dark blonde or really light brown.
N9N.
Okay, beautiful, 9N. So you've got two choices that are going to be helpful to you. If what you like to see is like a goldeny, like my hair that's got gold to it, the Dorado, the same one we recommended to someone else earlier, Dorado. If you're like, that looks kind of yellowy to me, I like a cool silvery blonde, the Perla that Rachel was talking about that comes out of the tube looking purple, that's going to be your best friend. But absolutely conditioner under the cap and then use a color depositing mask as you go. Sound good? Okay, so I absolutely have to turn this back over to our group to close out. All right, thanks guys.
Well, thank you everyone for joining Madison Reed's Hair Color House Party. I have some closing thoughts. First, what Siobhan just said, which is please email us your questions if we didn't get to your question today. Number two, we have house parties right now every 2 weeks, and we are starting, due to popular demand, starting to have them every week. Please be on the lookout for those hair color house parties, and the way to know is to check our social channels on Facebook or Instagram. We announce them whenever they're about to happen. Please invite your friends, the more the merrier. And then finally, as when we started this house party, we talked about the fact that we'd love to donate $1 for every after picture to the direct relief organization that's fighting wildfires burning across the West. And the way to send us your after picture is you can either email it to us or you can post it on your own Facebook or Instagram page and tag us. And the way to tag us is to just write hashtag hair color house party and we will see it. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Hang in there. I know there's a lot going on right now. Happy coloring, and we can't wait to see your amazing results. Bye, everyone.